Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejasi Om. So today we're going to be talking about the 5 koshas. Now, I'm actually inserting this lecture into a space in the course where we've been discussing a portion of the 8 limbs, the Ashtangasana, the 8 limbs according to Patanjali's teachings of the sequencing of yoga, what yoga is, the components of yoga, and the step-by-step path and guide to what we as yogis will practice. So we've just discussed in the lecture series the asana, and asana, your yoga pose or your yoga postures that you're using with the body to have specific and desired effects on the physical self and also on the mental body as well. But before I continue up the 8 limbs of yoga to pranayama, I would just like to pause here for a moment so that we can discuss what we call the koshas, or the subtle bodies of man, of mankind, of woman, of womankind. We can't just say mankind anymore, of humanity. So human beings are, like all living creatures, an intimate and complex embodiment of different layers, different structures. We look at ourselves from the outside and we see just the physical body. We see only the Annamaya kosha. And this part of us is the part of us that is the most apparent to the physical human eyes. So this is why often we get confused, whereby we think we are our body, we are separate, we have this illusion, this maya of separatedness. I am in my body and you are in your body, and therefore we are separate. We call this the great maya, the great illusion, the illusion of duality, of separatedness. We cannot, with our physical senses, acknowledge the oneness of all beings. So one of the reasons for this is because of the physical embodiment. You have a body and I have a body. So we're going to have a look at how yogic philosophy sees the different layers and the different structures of the being as you're walking through this life. We teach that you have 5 layers, 5 koshas or sheaths, bodies. So you will find this section in your course manual under lesson 9, called The Subtle Bodies of Man. This lecture over here goes a little bit into some of the Alice Bailey teachings of the bodies. And this was kind of part of the resurgence of the Western esoteric tradition as it was getting revived and restored several generations ago. So Alice Bailey was an esoteric and spiritual and theosophical author in the mid-20th century. And so she wrote a lot on the resurgence of Western esoteric and mystery study, including bringing the knowledge from the East and applying it into a Western context for Western minds to understand. So there's a little bit about that here, and I don't want to go too deep into her teachings on this today. You can see a chart here that each of the koshas, each of the layers of ourselves, these sheets. You can think of a Russian doll. Think of an onion having these layers. These are the sheets or the koshas of the self, of the human being. We're not going into philosophy on plants and other animals today. We're just dealing with the human being. You can see that her teachings linked these 5 koshas to senses and elements, to different planes of existence, to different chakras. But I wouldn't concern myself if I were you with that right now. Maybe you can come back to this part in your manual when you're further on in your personal studies as a yoga teacher and you're wanting to explore deeper into energetic anatomy and yogic philosophy. So for now, as a part of this course and where you stand at the moment, don't worry too much about this table right over here. However, you will then get to the image of a chart that I've inserted into your file, and I'm going to go through this a little bit more with you in a moment. Further along in lesson 9, I've given another chart over here, which kind of shows what I'm talking about with the layers, these sheets, like a Russian doll, the internal matrix of the human being and how we comprise these different layers and how they work. Okay, so let's go through this today. I'm going to pull up a different image for you. So I suggest that you get out a pen and maybe make a diagram, and it's nice to work with some colors as well. And this way we can kind of implement this knowledge into your awareness. I like creativity. It's my favorite way of learning. So if you just Google images, the koshas, you will come up with many models of the koshas. You can see various different, this one's, says the self and what is the self comprised of. This is also not a bad one. So I'll move it along there and we can look at it just now together. But the ones that I've come up with here are as follows, just for this lecture for today. So the 5 sheets are as follows. We have the Annamaya kosha, the physical body. All right, and the actual translation of Annamaya kosha is the food body. All right. The reason why the word Maya is used in here is probably an illusion, not an illusion, an allusion, a referral to the illusion of separatedness. So Annamaya kosha is this physical body, the meat and bones physical body that you are, this being. And it relates to, it's called the food body because this physical body is a result of what we eat. Yeah, take a moment to just digest that, no pun intended. Your physical body, element earth, is a result of the earth that we consume and is a result of the food that we eat. The food literally becomes our body. It doesn't just pass through our body, it becomes our body. The substance of that food becomes us. And so this is linked in. And when we go into the 5 elements in Ayurveda, we really understand this much more. So your Annamaya kosha is what in yoga we call your physical body. And it means the food body, and it's a result of the food we eat. So literally, according to the yogic philosophy, you are what you eat. Then, now the one thing that I notice with these models is, sometimes you'll see the models go from the outside working in, and sometimes you'll see them going in, working out. Please understand that this is just a model. These are models. These are 2-dimensional representations of something that is 5th-dimensional concepts, and they're higher dimensional concepts than what we can map out on paper, on an image. So it doesn't mean that the soul is a small little thing that sits in the middle, the bliss body, and that your mind is over here and your emotions are over here. These are just representations of multitudinal layers of yourself. You can see here that this one starts with the Russian doll going on the outside of the body, the physical body, Annamaya kosha, and then each layer going one deeper, which is quite nice because it gives us the idea that There's more inside of us. There's an infinite infinite depth within us. And as we go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into our awareness of self, we get closer to the source of it all. We get closer to the truth of it all in this image, the self, the Atman. Okay. In this one over here, they go the other direction. They actually give the physical body as the smallest one, and then each of the energetic bodies from there kind of expands, and it becomes more infinite in its expansion. So I think these are really just for illustrative purposes to help our mind conceptualize that there are many layers to us. They are not about size, but more about vibration, frequency, and dimension. There's a lot of people in the world going on now about the fifth dimension and all of this. I don't know much about that sort of thing, to be honest with you. I think a lot of it is new information that people are creating and talking about to excite people's minds and to make them feel unique and special in a world that sometimes feels challenging. And the idea that we are transcending or ascending above all of this is not a new idea. It's a very, very old idea that's been discussed in many religions in many times, that we will transcend the pain and suffering of this earth realm, because the vibration of the world is shifting, is raising up. But if the atoms of my body had to start to vibrate any faster, my body would not exist. It would explode or dissolve or become gas. So we must be careful when we throw around random terms. We must think about, what does that mean? So people say frequencies are going faster, then that means that all of the physical matter that we see in the world around us wouldn't exist anymore, because it is maintained through a constant resonant frequency. And we give this frequency the sound Om, because Om represents the constant sustaining principal vibration of this universe. So that's a story for another time. But be careful when people talk about fifth dimension and sixth realm, and this is not what we are referring to in yoga. What we are referring to is the fact that, and this is a scientific principle, we don't have to get too esoteric about it. It's a scientific principle that physical matter vibrates at a certain frequency. This is the law of physics. But light vibrates. I'm using a light here in front of me to record this lecture, obviously, like any good videographer is using a ring light nowadays. So light is vibrating at a much faster frequency than what my physical cells and atoms are vibrating. And so light can travel quicker than my physical body can. The speech, the sound that comes out of me, that's also traveling extremely quick, not as quick as light perhaps, but very fast. And I can't see it with my physical eyes. I can't see the sound. I can't see the Wi-Fi waves that are moving through my home, the microwaves, the radio waves, the sound waves, the light waves, the X-rays, the UV rays. But I know that they're there, and it doesn't mean that I have to get all esoteric about it. I just have to say there are frequencies around me that are beyond the range of my human perception. And after time and practice, we can, as human beings, fine-tune our ability to perceive these different levels or layers of frequency around us. So this is what I'm referring to, nothing too far out. What we're saying is that your physical body is the slowest, densest vibration of your being. That's why we give it the element of earth. It's solid, stable, and the slowest moving of all of the bodies. Then we have the Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is linked to, or is in fact, your energy body. What do I mean by energy body? Energy, what is energy? We need to start there. Energy, we go into further in Ayurveda, prana, is everything in this universe. Everything is running through an energetic field. So I plug my laptop in, it starts, it's alive because it has energy moving through it. I feed my body, it converts it into energy. You know, we learn this. This is things we learn in high school. Kinetic energy, potential energy, chemical energy, light, heat, energy. So the energy that is required for this physical body, this meat suit of mine to be animated, to be able to speak to you right now, means that I have an energetic body. I have something that is causing life to move through this vehicle, this car. You know, if you just have your car standing there, you need life to move through it for it to run. The same as with your cell phone. You know, it's mine is off right now, so it's just the meat and bones, but it still has an energetic body because it has the ability to be plugged in, charged, and turned on. So we have an energetic body called the prana maya kosha. Prana is the life force energy that sustains this whole universe. And that is directly linked to who you are as a being, your ability to be alive. And as yogis, we're very interested in the prana maya kosha because we want more prana, we want to be alive, we want to experience this life in its entirety, we want to feel like vital force moving through our being. That's the whole point of the practice of the asanas and the pranayama, the breathing work, is to get life force to move through us again so that we can work towards self-realization. It doesn't help to be running on a car that's falling apart, i.e. your body, or it doesn't have the fuel or the capacity, i.e. the pranic body, the pranamaya kosha, to get to its destination. I link the pranamaya kosha as well to kind of like a raw power that permeates all things. And the source of this in our solar system is the sun. We'll get to that in Ayurveda. Just put that on the board because it's very interesting. So then we have the manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha, the mental body. Man means mind. Okay. Human, for interest, man means mind, and hu means light. So there's a mystery there we'll touch on one day. Human, the mind of light, or the light mind. Manomaya kosha is your mental body. So just like my laptop has a physical shell, the anamaya kosha, I want you to use these words. The anamaya kosha, the physical body, it has to have electricity and energy running through it to make it come alive, for it to work, the pranamaya kosha. So maybe these things exist in not just a human being as well, hey? Then it also has to have some intelligence. It has to have intelligence. It has to have a program. It has to have software. This is manomaya kosha. This is the mind. Now, the software or the program in my computer is limited. The human mind is unlimited. It is an infinite mind, and it can travel through time and through space. How do I know that? Well, I can think about what I had for breakfast this morning, and so my mind goes there. I can plan what I'm going to do tomorrow, and so my mind goes there. I can think about a loved one, and my mind can go there. So my mind can travel through time and space. My body, not so much. The body is fixed through a trajectory in time and space. The body must always have longitude and latitude. And as Siri Singh Sahib Yogi Ji said, You were born with a longitude and a latitude. Now you must spend the rest of your life working on getting the right altitude and attitude. So we can contemplate that a little bit. It's very beautiful. So Manomaya Kosha is the mental body. It doesn't help just having a meat suit, a vehicle. It doesn't help just having the energy to animate it. We need the intelligence in order for it to know what to be animated to do. So my mind, which consists of not just my intelligence, my logic, my ability to analyze, but also my imagination, and to a large extent, my emotions. Personally, I equate the emotional body to both Pranamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha, and we'll get more into that when we go through the chakras, because I do feel that emotion is a fueling source, and they are an indicator of our energy connection. The mental body creates emotions as a result of our thoughts. So I think about something, I have an emotional reaction or response that then prompts me to do something with my physical body. So can you see how these bodies link together? All right, let me give you an example. I think to myself, now, I would love a cup of tea. And then instantly from that thought, I have an emotion. I have a desire for the cup of tea. Through that, I expend energy to make that cup of tea. Water must be boiled, my body must move, I must mix the ingredients, and so energy is required finally to make it manifest, the physical component of it, to actually make it manifest in this physical world. And for me to consume it, it must go through the physical process, the physical body, Annamaya Kosha. So can we see how these things, they can't be separated? This is a model of an integrated system that is working within us on all levels, all the time. It's very difficult to just separate mind or body or energy. So this mental body consists of thoughts, feelings, desires, emotions, imagination, logic, analytics, our ability to plan, to think. And it is very, very important because it is what governs us to be able to actually do things in this world, to fulfill our purpose and to help us plan the route to get there. All right, next up, I can hear that there's some gentlemen outside doing the garden. I'm not going to pause this lecture because I'm going to just continue. It's why I'm wearing my microphone today. But if it gets too loud, then I will pause and come back to the lecture afterwards. We then have the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya Kosha, also called the, some people pronounce it Vijnanamaya Kosha, but the way I was taught, it's Vijnanamaya Kosha, and it's a nasal sound, Vijnanamaya Kosha. This is the wisdom body. So the wisdom body is a very interesting part of us. So now that we've had a little bit more of a look at the mental body, and I am going to go further into this, I want us to just have a look at the next one, Vijnanamaya Kosha. Sorry, I did end up pausing the lecture because, as predicted, the garden sounds became too noisy. So I've paused, I've had that cup of tea, and now I'm jumping right back in. Okay, so Vijnanamaya Kosha, the wisdom body. This is a very interesting one because if we think of ourselves as developing from the moment that we're born, when you're born as a little baby, yes, you have the indwelling soul, but the real focus is on the physical body, isn't it? Like the basics of life, eat, sleep, and poop kind of thing. And that's very much an Annamaya Kosha activity. Very imperative for survival. Later on, you learn how how to use the body more. And this is an energetic process, an energetic connection and understanding the pranamaya kosha. When you're born, you're given this physical body, and then when you come out the womb, you get a little smack. You take a deep breath in, and excuse me, and life rushes into the body. Life rushes into the body. Up until that point, your physical body was being supplied food from your mother's body through the umbilical cord. And so this is why the physical body is a product of the food that we eat, the substance, the food body, Annamaya Kosha. Now you take your breath, you're born, welcome to planet Earth. You breathe in the last portions of everything you need, the spiritual essence rushes into the body, and you begin the practice of the breathing process, which will animate your body along with the food that you eat until the day that you die. It will sustain you. So these two bodies are so linked in this way. Then you start to develop more mental acuity and awareness the older you get, more emotional awareness and understanding. At the beginning, it's very primal emotion, very raw emotion, survival emotion. And then you start to learn and navigate the world of society. You learn how to understand and interact with your parents and those around you. And so the mental faculty and the emotional faculty start to become more acutely tuned in. That's Manamaya Kosha. Then with this, with a deeper understanding of life and our ability to navigate through life, we acquire not just knowledge, the mind, but we also acquire wisdom. Now, knowledge is learning as a little child that if you touch the hot stove, you will burn. And so we don't do it again. And so we've accrued wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge applied. So later, as we're going through life, hopefully we become wiser. How do we do this? Through learning about life, through study, through the pursuit of philosophy, through learning about ourselves and our relationship with others and our world around us, our environment, our relationship to the self, with a little s, and then our relationship to the self, the cosmic soul. And so we hopefully tend to take on more wisdom and acquire wisdom, and we develop this body. Our aim as yogis is not only to find a balance and a harmony within these 5 sheets, but also to develop them enough to the point where they're strong and we can ultimately transcend the 5 sheets. We have to have them strong and balanced in order to live a healthy and fulfilled life here while on earth. So it doesn't help me having a sickly physical body or a sick mental body, mental health issues, or a lack of the prana, the life force flowing through me, because it's going to make it difficult to practice this process of self-realization, this practice of spiritual union with the supreme, the infinite. And so, okay, I'm going to make a mental note on that. I'll come to it. Now, the Vijnanamaya Kosha is also what we can think of as the astral body. And it's the part of us that also is very tied into psychic ability and intuition. Because what is psychic ability? What is intuition? Intuition means tuition or guidance from within. So the Vijnanamaya Kosha is that part of us that is able to calibrate on such a highly advanced level that it can predict the possible trends and patterns that are likely to happen without our rational understanding of it. So wisdom comes in here, psychic abilities, and the astral body. This is the body that they say is the one that projects astrally when we dream at night. And so this wisdom body is very closely linked to the subconscious and the unconscious layers. Finally, Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss body. This is the one that is closest to what we can call the soul. This is our soul body, the Atman, the individual soul. In the philosophy of yoga, we have, let me just pull up a screen here. excuse me, that cup of tea made my throat tickle. We have the Atman, okay, which means basically it means soul. Jiva Atman. Should I change the colors? Yes, because I like color. If you're like me, then you also like color, and that's how we learn better. The Jiva Atman is the individual soul. So that is your individual soul, the witness that is walking around inside your body. It is conscious witness. Okay, we'll explore the meaning of the soul more in our work to come. But and this is a talk that I actually go into on our module 3 retreat. But it is of three states or three qualities. Sat. I hope you're writing this down because it's not in your manual. Chit. Ananda. Okay, there's a mantra that we sing when we're on our retreat that goes Om Sat Chit Ananda Parabrahma Purushottama Paramatma Shri Bhagavati Samhita Shri Bhagavate Namaha. It speaks of the nature of the soul and the connection to the great infinite soul. So the soul is the qualities of three. Sat, truth. We learned this earlier through one of the yamas, niyamas. Can you remember? Satyam. Okay. Truth, honesty, not lying. Chit. Conscious. So the soul is truth. It is a true thing. It exists. It is real. It is beyond illusion. Chit. It is conscious. All right. So conscious. What does conscious mean? It is aware. It is awake. It is conscious. It's beyond the sleepy dream realm that so much of our mind is a part of, the day-to-day trance that we are in. And Ananda, bliss. So it is of the same essence as the divine. It is truth beyond illusion. It is real. It has always existed. It will always exist. It always has, will, and shall be. It is chit. So it is conscious. It is aware. It is awake. And it is Ananda bliss. So this is the individual soul. It sits inside your body. It sits inside my body. And I like to think of this soul as a drop from the ocean, because now I'm gesturing like this, like as if you can see it. But in front of me, from where I'm sitting, I have a very gorgeous view of the False Bay here in Somerset West. And there's this expansive ocean right in front of me, right spread out in front of my window. Very happy to see this. And that ocean represents the supreme soul, in this analogy, in this metaphor, the supreme soul of the universe, the infinite ocean, the cosmic expansive ocean of all that is, was, and ever shall be. When you take on incarnation, it is like the drop from the ocean, taking on individual form and substance for a period of time. You will merge back into that ocean one day. But for now, you have an individual form and substance. You're an individual drop, okay? No one can take that away from you. But the illusion is that this drop is only a drop. Meanwhile, it is actually an extension of the ocean. It is of the same substance. It is the same salt to water ratio as what the ocean has. It is made of the same stuff. And so that's why we know that the soul is made of the same stuff. The soul has the same ratio of Sat, Chit, Ananda, the same ratio of truth, of consciousness, of bliss that the God has, that the Supreme Soul has. The illusion is that because we have form and shape and identity, that we are separate from that ocean. It's a mystery to contemplate. And so We will merge back into that ocean when we die, and then we take on a new form again, according to the principles of reincarnation. We have then the, let's go with pink, the Paramatman. This is the supreme soul. Okay. Let me just extend this out. Supreme soul, the cosmic soul, the infinite God. All right. The ocean in our metaphor. This analogy of the drop in the ocean came to me many years ago when I was teaching this course, and I needed a way to explain the soul and the individual soul and the supreme soul, and it's worked very well for me ever since. So we've got the Atman, that means that the word means soul. We get two types of Atman. We get the Jiva Atman, the personal individual soul, the drop that exists in your body, is who you are. That is who you are. You are not your mind. You are not your body. You are not your emotions. You're not your energy. You're not even your wisdom. You are deeper than that. You are the soul. That is who you are. And then there's the Paramatman. This is your origin. It's your point of origin. It is where you come from. It is who you are on the bigger scale. It is the real you, the cosmic soul. All right. So, phew, it's quite something, isn't it? It's quite something to really work our heads around. But we can't just work our heads around it. We've got to use all of the layers of ourselves to understand, to remember. So Ananda Maya Kosha is the soul, the bliss body. Ananda, we've learned now, means bliss. And why is it a bliss body? Because the state, the very nature of God, of the soul, is ecstatic nature. It is blissful. We see these beautiful images of Lord Krishna in the yogic in the Hindu mythologies, and he is. This is how God is portrayed, you know, in many of the mythos of India, as this blissful being. God is bliss, ecstasy, joy, celebration, the music of life, the dance. Okay, the ultimate lover, the ultimate bliss, the ultimate servant and devotee. He's often shown here, Lord Krishna, as a beautiful, innocent little boy who's living a blissful life, Lord of nature, Lord of the animals. So the nature of God is a blissful nature. And here we go. The nature of our soul is bliss. Now, my mother recently came out with a very interesting concept that we spoke about, and I really like this because now, having spent my whole life from a very young child studying and exploring spirituality and esoteric and metaphysical pursuits, the thing that we tend to hear of a lot is we've got to learn lessons. We've got to learn lessons and evolve and grow in this life. But my concern with this was always, well, if the very nature of me, if the core of me is Sat, Chit, Ananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss, it is already an extension of God. Its origin is God. It is made of the substance of God. Then there is no such thing as an old soul or a young soul, because every soul is God. It's just in a perceptually individual form in this incarnation. But we cannot say that one soul is better or worse or older or younger. Why? Because when my drop returns back to the sea, it no longer stays that drop. It merges and melts back into the ocean. I can never reach back into the sea and pull out the Ryan drop again once it has merged back into the infinite. Yeah. So if this little drop over here is Ryan and I drop it back into the sea, it merges. I cannot reach my hand in and pull it out again. So I cannot say that my drop has been in here longer than your drop, then longer than this one's drop, shorter than this one's drop, because it merges again. So this idea of old soul, young soul, it's not something that I can personally, in my own experience as a mystic, identify with, because it again is another form of the ego. And it's saying the I. Whenever the word I comes at the beginning of the sentence, it's the ego talking. That's what the word ego means. Ahamkara, the I maker, the thing that makes the I, the sense of individuality. So the soul is really perfect. It is of God. So maybe this discussion my mom and I were having is not to grow and evolve, because we're already that nature. We already have the Christ-like nature, the Buddha nature. So what is the process then? The process perhaps is not to make your light shine brighter, because your light is already infinite. It is infinite brightness, 10,000 suns. The purpose is to cast off the layers that we accrue in this life, the rubbish, the nonsense, the bullshit, okay, of the beliefs that I am white, I am male, I am South African, I am a result of my heritage, I am vegetarian, I am what I am, all the ego layers, I, ahamkara, ego. So every time we get another layer covering this light, it becomes more dim. Not the light itself doesn't become dim, our ability to see it dims, our ability to perceive it dims. Then you sit and you wonder why you go into meditation and it seems like a storm inside there of chaos, and you wondering where this bliss is. It's below all of these layers of stuff. So perhaps this is a new teaching concept for me to put across to you. We are discussing philosophy after all. Perhaps the concept is not to learn or to make our light shine brighter. Perhaps our light is eternally bright. Perhaps it is an unlearning process that we need to go through to remove the layers of doubt and fear and anger and ego and greed and uncertainty and all of these things, so that the innate nature that exists in the core, in the center, which is already the nature of bliss, can radiate forth. Perhaps it's not about doing anything else than just waking up, opening our eyes so that this light can shine. And this, I do believe, is what all of these new thought movements are trying to say in some way or another, like the teachings of Abraham, Esther Jerry Hicks, is you don't have to try and become anything more than you are. You already are that. Om Tat Sat, I am that. Hari Om Tat Sat, I am that I am. You're already there. What's preventing you or stopping you or holding you back from living in that space constantly is the resistance that we have, the pushing against the current of life, the doubt, the uncertainty. What we resist persists, you know. And so yoga, when we speak of yoga meaning union, it doesn't mean that I'm reconnecting with something that I disconnected to. It is a remembering of the union. It is a true knowing, because we've got lost in doubt and confusion of who we are, what we are. We think we are the body, we think we are the mind, we think we are our storms of emotions, but we are not. We are more than this. We are true infinite source. We are consciousness. And it doesn't help just to know that with the manamaya kosha, with the mental body, we have to embody it. So yoga, the practice of the asanas, the pranayamas, the meditations, the mantras, they are there to help us to come back into alignment. And when we are in alignment, then everything can connect into one. We remember the oneness. That's the union, the wholeness, the remembering thereof. All right. Whew. Wow, what a topic, what a talk, what a discussion. So here's another nice example, a little bit simpler example of these koshas going down into the center of the being, right down to the center of it all, the soul. And then, like I told you earlier, here's another one, except this model is saying it's going outwards. So it says the physical body is here, and you know, the soul is expansive. It's bigger than us. So we can say both are correct, you know. So this physical body, the Annamaya Kosha, is the physical systems, the organs, the meat, the bones of the body, and your dosha, your Ayurvedic dosha, your temperament. And then your energetic body is the subtle breath, the prana vayus, the energetic winds. Vayu means wind or air, prana, energy. The nadis, the energy channels, and the chakras, the vortexes of life. So those are what consists in the energy body. Emotional body, I disagree. I think this, well, actually, it's completely incorrect. It's supposed to be mental body. So just watch out for that word, because mano means mind. But you know, in the West, we've separated the mind and the emotions, and we can, and I agree with that to a large extent. But they are also intricately linked. We can never just have cold, calculative mind. We can never just have raw emotion. They are completely tied together. And so this mental body, this mind body, is a mixture of emotions, thought patterns, and then the three gunas, which we will learn about still. Wisdom body, Vijnanamaya Kosha or Vijnanamaya Kosha, is that intuitive part of us, that part that goes right down deep. And I also do believe that this is the part that contains ancestral wisdom, okay, and the collective consciousness of humanity, the collective source. Because where does wisdom come from? I just recently adopted a kitten, and I looked at him and I was amazed, because how does he know how to use his little litter box to scratch around in? How does he know that to chase a fly around the room? How does he know how to hunt? How does he know how to put his hair up when he gets a fright? It's an instinctual wisdom. It's an instinctual knowledge that goes beyond what he's learned in this life. He hasn't learned any of that behavior. It's literally watching it unfold. It's so stored in his DNA, in his genetics, in his Vijnanamaya Kosha, the wisdom body. So I do believe that this is linked to the collective unconscious as well, and to ancestral wisdom and memory. And as a Sangoma, I'm very interested in this, because we work a lot with ancestral energy. And what is ancestors other than the collective wisdom of all those who have gone before us, not just our family, all those who have gone before us. And finally, the bliss body, Anandamaya Kosha, this is the highest aspect of this part of us. So this is what makes us us. This is what makes you you. This chart also is a beautiful chart. Excuse me. And I think you can actually go and order it online, and that would be really nice to be able to actually have that chart ordered and put up in your yoga room. But we can see that that there's this link to the chakras here: earth, water, fire, air, and space. We've got the 5 elemental links. We've got 5 base chakras. We've got things like what happens if that particular kosha is balanced, and then how to balance it out. So this is now where I'm going to merge this into our talk on the 8 limbs of yoga. So 5 koshas, 8 limbs. You know, there's many things like this: the 3 gunas, the 3 doshas, the 5 yamas, 5 niyamas. You will don't worry about feeling overwhelmed by this. This is a philosophy. It's something that we take a lifetime to have to learn to integrate and to chew on and explore. So let's look at this physical body, Annamaya Kosha. When imbalanced, we might have an imbalance of the elements within the physical body, which we learn about in Ayurveda, and then we create dis-ease within the physical body. Dis-ease also comes from an imbalance in the mind and the emotions as well, and the energy systems. So our focus, according to the 8 limbs of yoga, we were speaking about asana, is that asana sorts out the physical body. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So asana sorts out the physical body. So this is why we practice the yoga asanas, to maintain a balance of the physical body. That plus our Ayurvedic diet and our cleansing processes, our cleaning processes. So diet and lifestyle. Also, obviously, you know, if we are what we eat, then all the bad, naughty habits that we have, those will also affect this sheath as well. There's a saying in the yogic philosophy that you don't have to leave your bad habits behind, but when you practice yoga. But through the regular practice of yoga, it is only natural that your bad habits will leave you. So I really like that. Because when we're practicing, we're constantly coming back into alignment with our truth, our source, our origin, and that is beyond all the nonsense things that we take onto ourselves, like smoking and drinking and all of this stuff. Then the energy body here, when imbalanced, you know, we have lack of breath awareness. There's blockages in the chakras. We feel lethargic, tired, depleted, lack of vuma for life, a lack of energy, a lack of vital force, this thing that the ancient Greeks, the Newman, the vital force that exists within you, vitality. What is health? What is vitality? Write that down, contemplate it. So we balance it through the breath, through the acts and the practices of pranayama. So now you're starting to see, there's an order here. First, we've got our yamas and our niyamas, which means that you've got to be a good person to practice yoga and you need to try and live a good life. Then we've got the physical aspect, the asanas, which deal with the physical body. We've got the pranayama, which deals with the pranic body. So what is pranayama? It is certain practices using the breath in order to clean the energy systems, but also to balance the energy systems and to regulate the energy of the body. Because the breath is the link, it is the direct connection between the body and the mind. Remember, we've spoken about the body-mind connection. How are they connected? Through the breath. I always say the breath is the breath is the bridge. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. So the breath is actually what connects, and we can see it here in our model. The breath is what connects. Let's use this one. The breath is what connects the pranamaya kosha, what connects the body and the mind. So the bridge between the two. This is why as yogis, we're so ingrained into our breath, because it's the connecting of all of it. So if asana or the yoga poses to work on the physical body primarily, yes, it will affect the energy body, it'll affect the mind, but primary physical body. Pranayama or our breathing practices affect the energetic body, and meditation will affect the manamaya kosha, the mental body. And at the beginning, our journey of meditation must begin with practices of pratyahara, the internalizing of the senses, drawing in of the senses, and also yoga nidra. So the mind, actually, we must sort out using this limb over here, pratyahara. pratyahara, the ability to turn inward, to shift our senses in, to calm, clear the mind, and by practicing yoga nidra. Yoga nidra is different to meditation. It doesn't have the same objective. It's a different outcome. But this body is balanced, cleaned, and regulated through the practice of pratyahara, turning the senses in, and yoga nidra, which we will learn more about still to come. So this is why, and Manamaya Kosha, and this is why we do Shavasana at the end of a class, because we must relax the body so that there's no restriction, energy can move. When we relax body, the mind relaxes. Okay, remember body-mind connection. So what we do to the one will affect the other, like a reflection in the surface of the water. When our body lies still through practice, the mind becomes still. When our breath becomes still and regular, the mind becomes still and regular. All right. When our mind is busy, our breath is erratic. When our breath is erratic, our body is stressed. So they are always affecting one another. Vijnanamaya Kosha, let's have a look what this thing here says. I may or may not agree with everything. Okay, yeah, so when imbalanced, we feel like we're just a result of our physical world. We don't feel like there's more, like a bigger picture. That seems about right. So to balance it requires the practice of dharana and dhyana. So that is then the practice of meditation. Dharana, we're still going to learn about this, don't worry. Single pointed focus or concentration, and dhyana is actually, once you've learned how to focus and concentrate, then you need to learn how to release that, and dropping all the efforts, letting everything go, and just being completely in the no thingness, in the oneness. So we first start by focusing on the one, then we focus on the no thingness. Okay, don't worry, we'll get there. So the practices of dharana and dhyana are good for this as well, this body. And one of the ways we can do that, there are many, like concentrating on a candle, tritaka, or chanting of mantra to train the self to stay completely present in a single pointed focus. And then the bliss body over here. Yeah, interesting. Sometimes when there's an imbalance here, people can also tend to overly spiritual pursuits, fundamentalism, and we neglect the physical world. When the yogis were starting out, there was a tend towards the rejection of the physical body and the senses. But as yoga has evolved over the thousands of years, we've realized that not only can we not escape the physical experience, but we shouldn't, because we're here for a reason. So we must have a connection between earth and spirit, matter and spirit. Spiritual pursuit is everything. It's the most important, but so is living this physical life. And to do it with a spiritual awareness. That shouldn't just be church on a Sunday and work on a Thursday. Everything must be integrated together. Yoga, union. Doesn't matter if I'm in the office, I must be thinking of God and thinking of my spiritual soul, myself, soul self. Doesn't matter where I am, I must always be balanced in all the aspects. So to nurture and nourish the soul, they say the study of yoga and Vedanta philosophy. I don't think I agree with that. I would say that studying of the yoga and the scriptures would satisfy more the mental self and the wisdom self. I think the soul is what it is. It doesn't need to be in balance. I can't attest to this myself. The soul can never be imbalanced because it is the nature of Sat, Chit, Ananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss. So I'm going to say no to that, but you can go further and pursue your understanding of it. So now if we're looking at the 8 limbs, we go, all right, so asana deals with my physical body, pranayama deals with the energy body, pratyahara deals with the mental body. Dharana and dhyana focus on the wisdom body, and samadhi is the state of bliss, the state of the soul that is in alignment with our koshas. Okay, so there we go. That is what was actually going to be a short lecture on the 5 koshas, has now turned into an entire class. I don't know how long this video has been running for. It will be interesting to see. But I hope that that shed a little bit of light on the 5 koshas. And I'm inserting it into the place where we're learning about the 8 limbs of yoga, because I need you to understand these layers of self, so that we can understand why we do what we do with the postures, the breaths, the yoga nidras, the meditations, the mantras, and all of these things. Thank you for attending this today. Thank you for being present and aware. Please feel free to go through this lecture again, stop, pause, reflect, write notes, and then I look forward to seeing you in our next session. Until then, Hari Om Shanti, Hari Om Tat Sat. I am that. I am.